जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दन जनरञ्जन यशोदानन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे राम 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 हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधा वृंदावन चंद्र राधे ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की ब्रजभूमि वृंदावन धाम की मथुरा धाम की द्वारकापुरी धाम की पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की श्री मायापुर नवदीप धाम की गंगामय यमुनामयी की भक्ति देवी तुलसी देवी की समावेत भक्त वृंद की all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuhunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्रीराधा कृष्ण पादान् सह गणललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च नमावो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते पेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेष्व भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमः। Welcome all of you for the Srimad Bhagavatam class this morning. We are reciting from the 6th canto, 5th chapter, text number 40. Netham pumsam viragah syat vaya kevalinam risha मन्यसे यद्युपशमम् स्नेहपाश निकृन्तनम् नेत्थं पुंसां विरागः स्यात् त्वया केवलिनामृषा मन्यसे यद्युपशमम् स्नेहपाश निकृन्तनम् नेत्थं पुंसां विरागः स्यात् त्वया केवलिनामृषा मन्यसे यद्युपशमम् स्नेहपाशनिकृन्तनम्। नेत्थं पुंसां विरागः स्यात् त्वया केवलिनामृषा मन्यसे यद्युपशमम् स्नेहपाशनिकृन्तनम्। नेत्थं पुंसां विरागः स्यात् त्वया केवलिनामृषा मन्यसे यद्युपशमम् स्नेहपाशनिकृन्तनम्। नेत्थं पुंसां विरागः स्यात् Kaya kevalinamrisha manyate supasama sneha pasanikrant. Matajis. Netham pumsam viraghasya kaya kevalinamrisha manyase yadyupasama sneha pasanikrantana. Na, not. Itham, in this way. Pumsam, of persons. Viragaha, renunciation. Syat, is possible. Tvaya, by you. Kevalinamrisha, possessing knowledge falsely. Manyase, you think. Yadi, if. Upashama, renunciation of material enjoyment. Snehapasha, the bonds of affection. Nikrantanam, cutting. Translation purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Prajapati Daksha continued, if you think that simply awakening the sense of renunciation will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dresses as you have done cannot possibly bring detachment. Purport. Prajapati Daksha was correct in stating that changing one's dress cannot detach one from this material world. The sannyasis of Kali Yuga who change their robes from white to saffron and then think that they can do whatever they like are more abominable than materialistic grihasthas. This is not recommended anywhere. Prajapati Daksha was right in pointing out this defect. But he did not know that Narada Muni had aroused the spirit of renunciation in the Haryashvas and Shavalasvas through full knowledge. Such enlightened renunciation is desirable. One should enter the renounced order with full knowledge, jnana vairagya. For the perfection of life is possible for one who renounces this material world in that way. This elevated stage can be reached very easily as supported by the statements of Srimad Bhagavatam. Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojitah Janayatyashu Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yadahaitukam. By rendering devotional service unto the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, one immediately acquires costless knowledge and detachment from the world. If one seriously engages in devotional service to Lord Vasudeva, Jnana and Vairagya are automatically manifest in one's person. There is no doubt of this. Prajapati Daksha's accusation that Narada had not actually elevated his sons to the platform of knowledge was not factual. All the sons of Prajapati Daksha had first been raised to the platform of Jnana and had then automatically renounced this world. In summary, unless one's knowledge is awakened, renunciation cannot take place. For without elevated knowledge, one cannot give up attachment for material enjoyment. So the dialogue between Prajapati, Daksha and Narada Muni is going on in this chapter. Awakening knowledge is like switching on a light in a dark room. Once you switch on a light, you can see things as they are. And there is no confusion, there is no bewilderment, and one cannot commit any blunder. In the same manner, a person who has become awakened to the knowledge that the contact of the senses and sense objects cannot make one happy. As it says in the Bhagavad Gita, Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukkhayone evate adyantavanta kaunteya ateshu ramate buddha. This verse says that the contact of the senses and sense objects is a source of misery, and those who are intelligent do not take part in them, he says. Now, what are the senses and sense objects? We have 5 senses: eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and skin. And we bring these senses in contact with the respective objects. Eyes want to see beautiful forms. Ears want to hear sweet sounds. Nose want to smell fragrant objects. Tongue wants to taste delicious preparations. Skin wants to touch soft objects. So there is a strong tendency, urge, which is observable by every living entity in these five senses. In animals and birds and insects, you will see some of them don't have eyes, some of them don't have ears, some of them don't have legs or hands. Like worm, if you see, they don't have hands and legs. Similarly, uh, they say also that a snake does not have ears; it only perceives through vibration. Uh, Similarly, some creatures cannot see properly. Like some creatures have eyes, but they cannot perceive forms clearly. Like dog, for example, when we go with our sumo outside the gate, you will find a dog coming running. You will see because the dog thinks some big creature is coming. Huh? It cannot clearly understand. How many of you seen the dog standing in the middle of the road? You've seen that? And they go in a vehicle. That's why they get attacked also sometimes by the vehicles. Huh? Because they can't clearly see. But although many creatures have deficiency in some of their senses, by God's grace, they have something powerful with each of them. Like dog can sniff and find out a thief. Similarly, you find the moth has eyes very powerful. The eyes of the moth are attracted to the fire, which is like a sunflower. It thinks like a sunflower. It enters the fire and gets roasted. Similarly, the fish has a tongue. Although fish gets abundant food in the ocean, he still wants to eat that meaty bait from the top. He goes to eat that and hook goes inside his belly and he dies. Like that, you will see the fish dies due to tongue, moth dies due to eyes, the honeybee, I mean not the honeybee, the bumblebee, it enters the lotus and sucks honey and goes to sleep. When the sun sets, the lotus closes and poor creature dies inside. It cannot come out. The same bumblebee, which had the ability to poke a hole in a tree, later on cannot poke a hole even in the petal of a lotus. He becomes so weak. This goes to show how one who partakes of the bhog or enjoyment becomes weak-minded. Anybody who does sense gratification becomes weak like that. So one who does not engage in Lord service, so he becomes weak inside the lotus. Similarly, the deer becomes attracted by the music sung or played by some instrument by a hunter, and it just gets bewildered so much it goes in the direction of the music, and hunter will throw a rope around his neck and capture him. He gets caught. Similarly, the elephant has weakness for the opposite sex, and the skin attraction. So they catch a male elephant by keeping a female elephant on the other side and making a big pit. And they put some bamboo sticks over the pit. And they lay down some leaves, dry leaves over it. Jai Shri Radha Navachandra ki, Jagannath Balsubhadra Maharani ki, Shri Gaur Nitai ki. So when the elephant sees the she elephant from here, he becomes attracted. And then he makes sound and runs towards the she elephant. Because he doesn't care about anything else. At that time, he runs over the dry bamboo sticks. The dry bamboo sticks break and they collapse. And he falls into the pit. And 3 days, they don't give him any grass. Can you imagine? He's a very voracious eater. He eats tons of grass. But now he can't eat anything. He's trapped in the pit and he becomes very weak. He thinks, I'm going to die. But then, 3rd day, they feed him little grass and they chain him up and they drag him into a lorry and take him into the lorry for zoo. In zoo, he has to sit with all 4 legs on one small stool. In the forest, he's free to wander everywhere. Here he is trapped by that female attraction. Male-female attraction, yeah. So, one time, HareKrishna Mataji was telling Maharaj, this brahmachari's life is so easy. And Maharaj asked, why do you say so? She said, Maharaj, these fellows get up in the morning and they're dancing early in the morning. And they are happily, they get to chant together and they attend the Bhagavatam class. When they finish Bhagavatam class and come with a plate, they get hot prasad. She was telling our married life is not so easy. We have so many household responsibilities and duties and chores to be done. And later on, Maharaj told us, when we brahmacharis met him, he said, see, she said, brahmachari life is so joyful. Yes, it is true. For you, it is joyful. That is because you have given up that male-female attraction. You are ready to forego that and instead turn your attraction to the divine couple, Radha and Krishna. So if you are ready to uplift your attraction to the divine couple, then one has opportunity for a carefree life practically. Everything is arranged by the Lord. Life is very cool. And even in family life also you will see husband, wife, they are staying together. If they can turn their attraction towards the Lord and His service, rather than becoming attached to one another, then they also lead a very happy life. Which comes to show one interesting phenomenon, that the sense gratification on the material platform produces misery. Any sense gratification, whether you're a brahmachari, grahastha, irrespective of that, if our mind is attached to material sense gratification, that means we are inviting misery. On the contrary, in whatever ashrama you are in, if you are able to uplift our vision in such a through knowledge, through awakening of knowledge, if you can uplift your vision to service to the divine couple with a wholehearted consciousness, then anybody in this world can live a very happy life. Even in this world, one can just focus one's attention on spiritual life and go back to Godhead. So all the five senses are represented by one creature, I told you. But in human body, all the five senses are active. We have eyes, nose, tongue, ears and skin, all are very active. Somebody may say, why Krishna is so cruel? He created all these senses and putting us in trouble. Actually, He has given us senses, all senses alert and awake, so that Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchiti. Engage it in Lord's service. That's the purpose for which He has given us senses. But by misuse of the senses, for sense gratification, the senses become putrefied. But by the right use of senses in Krishna's service, they become purified. So, how can we purify the senses? First of all, we need knowledge. And this is the knowledge which I was just telling you. Yehi samsprachaja bhoga dukkha yone evate. If we have the bhoga vritti, then we get dukkha. If you have seva vritti, then it is very sukhamaya. Pati divase parama sukhe. He says, our Bhakti Vinod Thakur sings in that song, in that Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu, in the last lines he says, Pati divase parama sukhe. He says, every day is a jolly day. Rise in the morning, take bath for Krishna's sake, then wear tilak, wear dress and come in front of the Lord, chant and dance for the pleasure of the Lord, and hear His glories, chant His names, and take prasad, and use your bodily limbs for rendering service to Him, with hands and legs and with all the different senses, engage in Lord's service, dress Him, decorate Him, feed Him, glorify Him. Such a beautiful life it is. Therefore He says, Pati Divase Parama Sukhe. Very, very joyful path it is. Susukam Kartam. It's an imperishable path. It's a very joyful path. It is not a difficult path like the jnanis or the yogis who have to artificially repress their senses. Here our senses are engaged in Lord's service. It is not like the yogi's path that you have to be austere, you have to eat kandamol and berry and roots and everything. One can offer things to Lord and accept prasad. So at the same time, the only condition in the path of bhakti is that we should not let the senses go astray, chasing after sense gratification. And generally, when we come to this material world, the senses have a tendency to go for material sense gratification. That's a default option in the senses when we are in a conditioned stage. So, how do we lead our life? By design or by default? Those who design their life, they are spiritualists. A spiritualist knows very well. Animal instinct means to go by default, go for sense gratification. Human life means, go by design. Design your day from morning to night, how I want to mold my day today. And design my week. I can design my month. I can design this whole year. Design means choice. I choose to do the right thing. I reject the wrong thing. Yes to Krishna, no to Maya. That is design. Design our life like that. So we can see that in us, there are two propensities. There are animalistic propensity and angel-like propensity. So we have to feed that angel more and more. And that is why the life of a devotee is molded like this. And by daily habit, gradually the angel in us will come out. Angel like Vaishnava will come out of us. And animal like propensities can be totally discarded over a period of time. But if somebody goes for bhoga, yahi samsparshaja bhoga, then one brings out that animal instincts. Then one suffers. One gives suffering to others also. One also suffers, one gives suffering to others also in the name of pleasure. The material pleasure is another synonym for misery. Material enjoyment means misery. Our prachetas are saying that in one verse. Rupam Bhagavata tuyetat ashesha klesha sanshayam avishkritam na kleshtaya yamanyat anukampitam. My dear Lord, you are so kind. You have come in the form of this deity to receive our services. And we, living entities, are so foolish that we chase after misery in the name of sense gratification. They're saying, we chase after what? Yeah, we chase after misery, and what is it? Why are somebody will laugh at you if you say chase after misery? Who will chase after misery? Is there any of you here? You will run to somebody and say, beat me, take the stick and beat me up. Will you say that? None of us want misery, but misery is coated with a cover which is called sense enjoyment. I heard a story one of the sannyasis was telling. Two sadhus were walking in the bank of a river. Ganga sometimes has a very great pravaha. You've seen that? In Haridwar, Rishikesh and all. Ganga flows very fast. So they were walking. And what is a sadhu? Sadhu means he's a fakir. His life should be very simple. Generally, sadhus have one stick for driving away the monkeys and dogs. And you have a stainless steel box for keeping everything, whether it is roti, sabji, or later on, night you keep milk, morning you keep water and things like that. Multi-activities in one. So just one stainless steel box, one stick and one upper garment for putting as a turban or for sitting or lying in the night, multi-purpose also. They don't have much assets. So when they were walking by the side of the river, chanting and singing Harinam very peacefully, one of the two sadhus looked at the river and he saw a blanket was, big black color blanket was moving in the river. And immediately he told this other sadhu, keep my stick and this stainless steel box, I am coming immediately. Sadhu asked, why are you going? He said, let me take this blanket and dry it in the sunlight and fold it and keep it. Whenever winter season comes, it will be helpful. And that other sadhu said, when winter comes, we will see. Somebody will give. This fellow was having a habit of accumulation. Accumulate. So he left it and he jumped into the river and he swam and went to there. And this other sadhu was waiting. This fellow didn't come back. After 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I saw, hey, why are you not coming? He said, the blanket is not leaving me. He said, really? Why? How can blanket catch you? He said, it's not a blanket, it's a balu, he said. You know balu? What is balu? Beer, yeah. It looked like a blanket for him from a distance, but it caught hold of him. Similarly, everybody looks at the world around. It looks like there is opportunity for enjoyment. But when you go and touch that, immediately you get trapped. You can see that. I feel very sorry when I see this. Like in one of the park, in one of the cities, when I told one devotee to take me for chanting to a park, In park we went, and there one boy is sitting and pacifying a crying girl. 10 o'clock in the morning. He's not going to college. Both are sitting there. She's weeping and he's pacifying her. Later on, we went back to temple. I thought better chant in temple only. And chanted in temple. 1 o'clock we had to go for a program. We came by the same road, and that fellow is still sitting in the park and pacifying. I wanted to ask that boy, is your father paying you money for pacifying this girl? This is called as purchasing responsibility, purchasing trouble. See, if you are married to a woman, it is your duty to protect wife and protect children and care for them. Buy a car, give her sari, ornaments. It's your duty. No man can marry and say, I don't care about my wife. Then you will be religious to not care for the wife. Now his father is paying him money for studying in the college. Unnecessarily he is connecting with somebody, and that person is crying and is pacifying, sitting in the park 3 hours, just it. So this is an example of how the living entity gets into trouble in this world. So see, when you look at the world around, we can learn so many lessons in this world. So don't purchase trouble. In the already we have come to a wrong place, which is called material world. We have left the Lord's association and come here. And we should not complicate our life even more. Already you have complicated. Prabhupada says danger must be there because you put yourself in dangerous position already. Then why to increase the troubles? So increasing trouble or purchasing trouble means unnecessarily trying to use the senses or contacting sense objects for enjoyment. That doesn't mean senses should never be brought under contact of sense objects. No. That is also a wrong understanding. Like the Buddhists say or impersonalists say. According to Vaishnava philosophy, senses and sense objects can be brought in contact with each other in a regulated way in married life. For example, a man and woman are allowed to come together in Vivaha Yajna, we call it. Vivaha Yajna means it is actually a sacred activity because it is done with the blessings of the parents, blessings of people in society, blessings of demigods, blessings of Supreme Lord. They come together and they do Agnivalam. So Agnivalam means they go around the Vishnu's mouth, which is sacrificial fire, and they take a promise that we will stay together on a sacred tie. We will not separate by divorce, but we will stay together for the purpose of serving the Supreme Lord, or the purpose of serving Hari, Guru and Vaishnavas. And that's called Pani Grahanam. Pani means hand. Grahanam means to catch. So the father does Kanyadan. Is giving his daughter in marriage to a boy, and the boy is catching the hand of the girl. That's called Pani Grahanam. Responsibility is shifted from the father taking responsibility for daughter to the husband taking responsibility for the wife. That kind of, it's a very properly authorized method of man-woman coming together. So it's not that man-woman cannot come together. In a marriage, sacred tie, it is permitted. And that is also as glorious as a brahmachari dedicating his life for serving the mission of Guru. Because husband, wife also, they can also serve the Guru in that ashrama. So there is brahmachari ashram, there is also grihastha ashram. And there are glorious grihasthas, there are glorious brahmacharis, glorious sannyasis also. But everybody should stick to the path laid by the Vedas for them. Then we can see brahmacharis are told, never contact a woman for sense gratification. It is prohibited for them. Whereas a man who wishes to enter grihastha ashram is allowed to catch the hand of a woman and do agnivala. Take responsibility. Brahmachari is told, never accumulate money. Whereas grihastha is told, you should accumulate money for running the family and for giving charity to Vaishnavas. Isn't it? Brahmachari is told, never, accumulate a house or goods or other commodities. Don't have a habit of storing. But Grihastha is told, you have to build a house. You have to get grains. You have to get vahanas, vehicle. You have to get furniture. You have to put up a family. You have your duty. And you can also make an altar at home and also worship the Lord. You need to have a private house. Brahmachari says, no privacy for Brahmachari. But Grihasthas have a private home. They are allowed. Yeah. And you will see, Brahmachari means no sex life. Whereas Grihasthas are allowed to enter in that sacred tie and produce children and raise them in Krishna consciousness. they have their prescribed duties. It's called regulated sense gratification. So, what is the advantage of regulated sense gratification? Bhagavatam says, if a man and woman come together, get married, and they are doing regulated sense gratification, as ordained by the Guru, with the desire to develop detachment and attain kingdom of God, then therefore, and faithfully they follow the instruction of Guru, one miracle happens in their life. What is that miracle? When they initially married, they had attraction to each other, man and woman. But because they followed the regulated program, faithfully following the order of Guru, and with the desire to develop detachment, as they go from 25 to 50, they will clearly see that detachment has developed. No more attraction to one another. Or husband and wife will be greatly attracted to each other as spiritual partners. And they see one another as spiritual friends serving together, and then they will very easily go back to Godhead, like Prithu and Archi. We see that. Similarly, Brahmachari, for example, is joining at the age of 24, 25. Prabhupada says in one purport, Grihasthas are attached, sannyasis are detached, brahmacharis are attached and detached. He writes like that. That means they have some amount of attachment also. There is attraction, attachment for the opposite sex in the early stage. And they also have some amount of detachment, because of which they make an effort to join the ashrama and lead a clean, pure life. So, how do they surpass this attachment? Because in Grihastha ashram, there's a regulated sense gratification program given to them, isn't it? In Brahmachari life, there is no regulated program for connecting with opposite sex. There is no such connection. One is told to completely give up. Therefore, Krishna says, Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasasmaran indriyarthan vimodhatma mityacharasya uchyate. He's telling that if a person artificially restrains his senses, namely the hands, legs, genitals, rectum, speech, these things away from the opposite sex, plus the Shabda Sparsha Rasa Rupa Gandha, 10 senses, he is withdrawing in connection with the opposite sex. Externally he is withdrawing, that's called Dhamma. But in the mind he is contemplating on them, on the opposite sex, which is called, that means he is not doing Shama. He's not able to do Shama. He's able to do Dhamma. Externally controlling them, but internally contemplating still with some kind of attraction or attachment to them. He's called as a Mithyachari, he says. So, what does the Brahmachari do in the early stage? Attraction may be there. Rasavarjam, rasopyasya, param drishtva nivartate. So, our Acharya's commentary I was reading recently. What is this param drishtva? They are saying param drishtva is the beauty of the deity. They have clearly mentioned that. If a brahmachari becomes very attracted to the beauty of the Lord, and he falls in love with the Lord, and he develops eagerness to please him, serve him, satisfy him, by dressing him, by decorating him, by dancing for him, singing for him, by rendering service to him like book distribution, Harinam, remembering this is my Lord, my Prananath. I will lay down my life fire for him. My body, my mind, my words, everything is for his pleasure. One should have very firm faith in the deities because of one's connection to spiritual master. That kind of faith can be awakened. So then the higher taste can be developed only when there is a genuine type of attraction. You cannot artificially do devotion service for a very long time. Maybe in the beginning you can do it mechanically for a while. Just like, for example, aeroplane, it goes in a runway, correct, no? After some distance of running in the runway, aeroplane takes off. Similarly, we have to run in Sattva-guna, run, and then take off to Vishuddha Sattva. After that, you have to, some Paragisha Anubhava should be there. Some amount of spiritual droplets of bliss has to be there for one to, even a few drops can carry one for years together also, decades together also. If one gets that experience. That experience of higher taste comes by faithfully controlling the senses, by withdrawing them from sense objects. Grihasthas are allowed to not indulge, they are allowed to engage in a regulated way. Whereas brahmacharis are not allowed to engage in a regulated way, rather they have to withdraw the senses from the opposite sex. Even if by mistake the mind slips, then one has to again correct oneself, wake up and walk ahead. And anyone who faithfully follows the order of the Guru, gradually that attraction for opposite sex, attraction for privacy, attraction for my own thing, my own kingdom, that kind of thing will go away. Attraction for accumulating things, attraction for lavish lifestyle, extravagant lifestyle, all that will evaporate from a brahmachari's heart. And by the time he reaches 50, 60, you can, like Dhruv Maharaj saw, he came with a certain type of desire to the forest. What was his desire? Big kingdom. Not, actually his desire was greater than Dhritarashtra also. Dhritarashtra's desire was earthly kingdom. Dhruva wanted a kingdom better than Brahma also. Big greed he had. With that he came to forest. But then when he faithfully followed Narada, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, following the regulative principles, doing Ashtanga Yoga, what was the result? That particular greedy desire, greedy ambition got completely nullified. Otherwise, how did he say, Kacham Vichinmanapi Divyaratnam, Swamin Kritartosmi Varam Neyache? How did he say that? I don't want a kingdom. Dhruvaloka, I am such a fool. Nunam Vimushtamatayaha Tavamayayate Etvam Bhavapya Vimokshanamanyakheto Archanti Kalpakatarum Kunapopa Bhogyam. See, he's calling the Lord as a Kalpakatarum. My dear Lord, you are like a desert tree. Yes, it is true. You can give material benedictions. You can give heavenly planets. You can also give moksha, liberation. Anybody who asks anything, you are able to provide them. You are capable of providing anything and everything. But I am such a fool that if somebody goes to a multi-millionaire and asks for 10 paisa, how foolish it will be. I am coming to such a great personality like you and asking for, broken pieces of glass, like this kingdom of this world. Having seen you, that desire is finished, he says. So, when one faithfully follows the path of Krishna consciousness, one can see what is man, what is woman. Everybody's body is suffering in this world. You ask anybody, you will see that whether you are a man or a woman, they have their own, everybody has their complication in the body. Somebody has problem in the liver, somebody has problem in the belly, somebody has problem in the heart problem, somebody has, bone problem, somebody has this disease, somebody has that disease. There are diseases, it's called as, or Prahlad Maharaj says, in one of the verses he says, what is that? Ashesha? No, what is the beginning of the verse? Putrashishat Shruti Sukha Mrigatrishni Rupa Vedam Kale Varam Ashesha Rujam Viroha. He says, this body is a body of disease, as Vyadi Mandiram. How can one be, you can't be attracted to even your own body. How can you be attracted to anybody else's body? Everybody's body in this world is undergoing so many difficulties and troubles. And the mind is also giving a lot of troubles. The mind is full of fears and inferiority complexes and challenges and, all lust, anger, greed and all these things. So we are all struggling with our own body and mind. And when two people come together in this world with their body and mind, there is a lot of troubles are there. But if one puts Krishna in the center, all these troubles can be washed away. Because Krishna consciousness is purifying and elevating. So one will not feel the attraction over a period of as one progresses in Krishna consciousness, because one will see that every jiva is seated in a bodily machine, yantra rudani maya, and wandering here and there with the sense gratification program. And they are trying for it and they are suffering for it. And intelligent living beings take off from that sense gratification program and they focus their attention on the Lord. Let me be that kind of living being. So one can understand. So, in this way, the Yehi Sansparshija Bhoga verse says that Dukkhayone Evate. Nate Ishuramate Buddha, it says. Intelligent people don't take part in materialistic activities of eat, sleep, drink, and be merry. They don't like this lifestyle because it cannot make one happy, the true sense. It is simply cheating life. All the glitter and glamour of the material world is simply here to plunge the living being in an ocean of suffering. They cannot make us happy. True happiness is in the lotus feet of Krishna. So, Nati Sharamate Buddha. Similarly, another verse says, Bhogaishwarya Prasaktanam Taya Apakrita Chetasam Vyavasayatmika buddhir samadhau na vidhiyate. He says that if you want samadhi in Krishna's lotus feet, there are two great enemies for you. Krishna says, what are they? Bhoga and Aishwarya. Bhoga is attraction for the opposite sex. And Aishwarya is opulences, big bungalow, big car, big fat job, paying fat salary. Fat time also you have to give for that. Isn't it? Huh? Big job, big bungalow, big car. Sometimes you see some banks, they've made everything out of glass. Have you seen that? Huh? Isn't it? So, lighting, and that is actually Aishwarya. Huh? Opulence, show off, big show off. Yeah. One time they called me to this lay meridian. They had a, I think, Lions Club presidents were meeting. Something like 300 presidents of Lions Club. They were coming together. So they wanted one program. Some 45 minutes to 1 hour. They wanted some leadership program. So Shreddi Prabhu took me. So we both went. So, but then the program, something else was going. They told us to wait for 15 minutes. So I was sitting outside in the sofa we were sitting. And you saw light, chandeliers and, boys, girls coming with all flashy dresses. And it's very artificial life in this world. People, I show off myself to you, you show off yourself to me. It's a life of show off actually. Many people eat, drink and be merry lifestyle, which most people adopt. This is simply a facade. It looks very attractive. Suddenly it will come to a halt. And the jiva doesn't know where is going after that. It is here today, gone tomorrow. So that is why those people who are in the spiritual path should always be able to see something long term and not be stuck in the immediate pleasures. One should know that it is here today, it will not be there tomorrow. One should, that like the clouds are having one formation now, after some time it will be different formation. The material world is always in a state of flux and constantly changing. So, as it said in this verse, two things, knowledge and renunciation. If knowledge is awakened that material objects are temporary and I am soul, I am eternal, my relationship is not with this world, my relationship is with spiritual world, Krishna. And sense gratification cannot make me happy. It is pain producing. So with all this knowledge, when it is heard repeatedly from the scriptures, and then one becomes faithful. See, one thing is about knowledge, another thing is faithful execution of the knowledge. That's very important. Prabhupada says there are some people in the spiritual path who hear and they get awakened. There are some people who hear and they see with their eyes and they get awakened. There are some people who hear and they see and still they want to experience. Then once they experience, they realize enough is enough now. Now I am personally realized now. I will not go for this. And then there are people who have heard, they have seen, they have experienced. Then they say, okay, this time it didn't work out, I will try in another way. They try also. That means renunciation awakens for different people in different levels, different amounts of time also. Yo swakat parato veha jata nirveda atmavan hridim kritva harim gehat prabrajet sa narottama. That person is called as Narottam, or topmost human being, for whom yo swakat, by his own contemplation and observation of the world around, he has come to the right conclusion. Detachment has awakened in his heart. He understood, no, this world cannot make me happy. Only Krishna can make me happy. Simply by one's own contemplation. Yo swakat. And then parato va iha is saying. Or sometimes by strong preaching of somebody. Somebody, you heard a lecture and like one line I read in Prabhupada's purport. In this world, nobody can do any good to anybody. Because everybody has to drive their own plane. Prabhupada said, my Lord, that hit me so hard. I have to drive my plane. He has to drive his plane. He has to drive his plane. Everybody has to drive. Immediately I could picturize, I am driving my fighter aircraft. I am driving alone. Everybody is driving their own plane. If there is a group of birds flying in the sky, somebody shoots one bird. What do you think other birds will do? they'll continue going. They'll continue flying. Actually, although we all stay together in this world as families, this, that, and all that, every one of us is ultimately individual. Our relationship is not with anybody except Krishna. Of course, our relationship is with everybody through Krishna. As brothers and sisters, we are connected. But other than without Krishna contact, our relationship with each other is absolutely nothing to do with each other. Well, everyone has to drive his own plane. So in this way, when we read the knowledge from the commentary of the great souls, that knowledge itself is very awakening. We may get realization by hearing that knowledge. And then you see the world with Shastra Chakshu. With whatever knowledge you heard, with that knowledge, you have to see the world. Yes, it is true. What Bhagavatam says, Bhagavad Gita says is 100% true. I can see with my eyes. And your convictions become even more stronger. But some people, even after hearing and seeing, they are not able to develop that detachment. They still feel that there must be some happiness. Let me try it myself. They don't get convinced. So they go for trying it themselves. Then when they try, then eventually they realize. Like for example, you ask any boy, girl in a college days, they have a very romantic, very rosy picture of life. Very innocent. They don't know. But even before the marriage, one has very, very rosy picture of life. Then when they marry, they become more responsible actually, because when a man and woman comes close together, although initially it is very attractive, eventually they see that we both are not similar. She has many expectations, he has many expectations from each other, and the expectations they are not unable to fulfill. Nowadays it has become all the more difficult because everybody is watching all Hollywood, Bollywood actors, actresses. Imagine if a man expects his wife to be like a Hollywood, Bollywood actress and she expects him like a James Bond. That expectation, foolish expectation. No, our bodies are not like that. So they come with false expectations. Similarly, everybody wants a lot of money. Everybody wants very grand facilities because we are globally connected now. The greed has become increased and vitiated now. So more the expectation, more painful the life becomes from each other. On the contrary, Vedic life teaches you should accept your partner as a gift of God. See, if somebody gives you a gift, you don't criticize the gift. Because if a man and woman are connected by karma, one should accept it as God's plan. Even if you have trouble from each other also, one should live out the life, understanding that God has put me in this test. I should purify me in this way. So the Vedic perspective is totally different from modern day perspective. So in this way, when man and woman come together and they beget children, initially the child is very beautiful looking, cute looking, quack, quack, quack. It looks very nice. It all pinkish hands, pinkish legs, very sweet looking. But when the child becomes 15, 20, parents wonder, my Lord, it's very difficult to manage this fellow. Isn't it? So it's a package of happiness and suffering. Sukha and Dukha, both. Marriage also. While entering marriage, you get happiness. After 3-4 years, you get suffering also. Correct, no? Similarly, Brahmacharya ashram also. You want to enter into Brahmacharya ashram. Initially, all boys jump and dance, Hare Bol, very happy. But after coming into ashram, they feel, hey, every morning I have to give attendance. Now you have to go. And I have to do this seva, that seva. There is no time to relax. If anybody is found to be sleeping, manager will come, hey, get up. Come, go for the service. Then they think it's not as happy as I thought of it to be. That means whether in any ashram you go, if you come with the propensity for sense gratification, you will suffer, you will see. Material world is a combination of sukha dukkha. But if you understand, I am not the body, I am spirit soul, servant of Krishna, then you become super enthusiastic. You are enthusiastic, you are determined, you are confident, you are patient, you are clean, you are never lethargic, you are very hardworking, you are always willing to be an obedient servant of the Guru, and you strictly adhere to whatever Guru has prescribed for you as the path. Do this, you do it. Don't do it, don't do it. And you understand, this body is a passing away phenomenon. Let me use this body, mind, words absolutely in the fire of Sankirtan Yajna. Engage it in Lord's service. Go back to Godhead. So, with a spiritual outlook, our life would never be miserable. It is susukam karto. It's very joyful. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate Vidyate hridaya grantes chhidyante sarva samshayaha priyante chasya karmani drishtaye vatmanishware. He's saying that one will become very cheerful with the correct spiritual perspective. So either you heard it and became awakened, you develop detachment, knowledge on one hand and detachment on the other. Or you heard it and observed the world around you, and then you understand. You get awakened. Or if you want to experience, then you enter into family life. Then you experience it yourself. That is why any man and woman, they have come together and they begotten children and raised. They are very experienced people. Those who are newly getting married now, they should go and take shelter of those grihasthas who are grown up and they have begotten children and raised them to teenage. They have practical experience. No brahmachari can give guidance like that. Sometimes grihasthas come and ask Prabhuji, how can I raise my child? I tell them, go to grihasthas. They have raised their children. They have seen it in their own life. They have experienced it also. We can give something from the Shastra, but they have done it themselves. There are grihasthas who have raised their children and got them married and settled in life. So through that experience, when they come to 50, 60, they'll become very detached. They will want to give a lot of wealth and charity to spiritual services. They will give their time in studying Shastra and preaching. And they will, in the Vanaprastha stage, they will intensify their tapasya and advance. So they get realization also. And then those who don't get realization, what to do? Say, for example, if there is a brahmachari or a sannyasi or a brahmachari or a grihastha, they have become 70 or 80. Still the material desires are there. How amazing it is. It's like, for example, somebody is a 30-year-old boy and is still wearing diaper. Just try to picturize it. How funny it will be. There are some people who are overly dependent. You have seen that? Emotionally dependent, intellectually dependent, physically dependent. They are dependent for everything. They want someone to decide for them. They want someone to tell them you are okay, you are all right. Actually, we have to grow in our maturity with age and practice also. So, if somebody, even at the age of 70 or 80, is still having desires for Dhanam, Janam and Sundarim, they're attracted to opposite sex, they're attracted to wealth, attracted to fun and material enjoyment, that means they are preparing for one more material body. They're preparing for one more material body. They're preparing right now. Because that material body is going to be awarded for fulfilling those desires. Therefore, we have to see that we nullify these desires over a period of time. So, for nullifying the material desires and awakening spiritual desires, the two ashramas are prescribed: Brahmacharya ashram and Grihastha ashram. Here, what is the apprehension of our Daksha Prajapati? He is saying, if you think that simply by awakening the sense of renunciation, like by your preaching, he's telling Narada, see, you strongly preached to my boys and made them frightened about Grihastha ashram. See, if you go to Grihastha ashram, you have to do job 16 hours, you have to fight the traffic in the morning, you will have to take a house and you have to pay EMI for 20 years. And then tomorrow there will be 3, 4 children and you have to stand in queue and admit them in the school. And you have to pay a heavy fee. Sometimes wife will get sick, you will have to spend money. So are you ready for this? Better you shave up and come inside. Some people preach like that. So if somebody preaches like that, some boys may get frightened. Oh, really? No, I don't want to go. I don't want to marry. Better join. But that type of preaching, will it produce true renunciation? It will not produce renunciation. Yes, they appear to be wanting to join ashram. The purpose of their joining ashram in that way is fear of pain in the married life. Correct, no? They think, oh, it's too much. I won't be able to. So some people may join. But here also, he won't be able to flourish. Why? Because he has not come for spiritual activity. He has come here for comfort and facility, and you want to escape from the suffering and the encumbrances involved in that. You understand the point? That's what he is saying. If you think that simply by awakening the sense of renunciation artificially will detach one from the material world, I must say that unless full knowledge of the nature of the sense gratification is awakened, but that means one should have full. What is the full knowledge? Full knowledge means Maya cannot make me happy. Only Krishna can make me happy. That is knowledge. And I will not indulge in Maya's allurements. I will engage my mind and senses and words. Like we said, Anukulyena Krishnanu Sheelanam Bhakti Uttama. Uttama Bhakti means engaging Kaya, Vacha, Manasa, everything in Krishna's service. I will do that. So a person who is joining the ashram should not join just because material life is miserable, but he should join because spiritual life is ultimately the most rewarding life. Krishna says that if you surrender to me, I will take you back to my abode. He says, Tyakva deham punarjanmana iti mameti sorjana. He says. Similarly, he says that antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshayaha. There is no doubt, Arjuna. If anyone, all life one has devoted to me, at the end of his life is remembering me, that devotee will certainly come back to me. In the same manner, he says, Manmanabhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaishyasi satyam te pratijane priyosime. In truth, I tell you, Arjuna, a devotee will definitely come back to me if they are always thinking of me, bowing down to me, offering obeisances to me, becoming my devotee. And in this way, engaging all their time, energy, money, body, mind, words in my service, they'll definitely come back to me. Several verses Krishna says that. So we have faith in Krishna's words. So with that attraction, we should dedicate our life. Krishna, I give myself to you. I am your property. Tavasmi. You are my master, I am your servant. Take me, engage me in your service as you wish. And I don't want any independence. I become the property of my spiritual master, by which he will offer me to Krishna. I heard one story. There was one pot in the garden. The gardener used to use this pot for pouring water in the plants. One day this pot got a hole. Then the man kept the pot in one corner of the garden, left it. Then he used another pot for watering the plants. So this pot was weeping. So the weeping sound was heard by the gardener. So then what he did, he took this pot and with the help of his wife, he got it very nicely painted. Like in Vrindavan, they paint, you have seen that, no? Various designs and everything. He did that with the pot and plucked the bunch of flowers from the garden and put it in this pot and kept it on the table of the Jamindar, his master. Now the pot was like even more amazed. See, earlier I was used for watering the plants in the garden, and after I got a hole, I thought my life has become useless. But now he has put flowers in me and offering me on the table of the Zamindar, which I don't deserve to be sitting there. Similarly, this pot with the hole shows a devotee who feels my deficiencies are so many. I am useless devotee. But the Guru is like the gardener who can actually, the putting the bunch of flowers is like he brings about good qualities in us. He's giving us good qualities and he's offering us to the Jamindar who is Krishna. So in this way, our body, mind, word becomes offerable by touch with Guru. Because of the Guru's spiritual touch, then we become somebody more valuable. Otherwise, we'll be asar, good for nothing. So in this way, our purpose of joining the Brahmacharya Ashrama should be, I met a very great Vaishnava spiritual master. I will dedicate my life to him. And I am confident that if I stay in his lotus feet, he will offer me to Krishna and my life will become perfect. This type of spiritual dream we should have. And also after we dedicate our life, we should be very faithful to his order. We should not, cause pain to him by breaking the regulatory principles or by not completing chanting or by chasing after some woman. One should not fall prey to these vices in Brahmacharya Ashrama. We have given our body and words and mind to him, we should not turn back. So then you have come for a spiritual purpose. And also some attraction is also there. How beautiful Krishna is, how wonderfully he speaks in Shastra. Let me do some service to him. And he's such a wonderful person to be with. So this world is so horrible and spiritual world is so blissful. So we think about the spiritual world and its beauty and Krishna's nature, everything. And we dream about it. A day, when will that day come? Kabe habe bolo se dina ama aparadha gucci shuddhana me ruchi. He says, when will that day be mine? When all my aparadhas will be gone and I will chant the Shuddhanam and I will meet Krishna eye to eye and I will engage in the service of the lotus feet of the divine couple. So, if this is your ambition, like there is another beautiful song also. Yama Gauri Ange Diva Chandanera Gandha Amara Dulava Kave Hari Mukha Chandra Radha Krishna Prana Mora Yugala Kishore Divane Marane Gate Arnagimo Talika Vishaka Yadi Yata Shaki Vrinda Agnaya Puriva Seva Charanaravinda Radha Krishna Prana Mora Yugala Kishore. So, when you hear such songs of Abhilasha, they are so soothing to the heart. So, on one hand, we have attraction to serving the Lord personally in the spiritual world. On the other hand, we are very jolly, joyful that we got a good spiritual master, Vaishnava, to escort us to that world. So, and then you also feel that Krishna consciousness is such an easy path. So simple it is. Prabhupada, one time my spiritual master was giving a class in one house. I was also there. So the child in that house, it's such a small kid, must be 5-year-old. He's taking the small chamar and doing like this in front of the deities. So Maharaj, in the lecture only he spoke, he said, see, look at this child. Even a child can do chamar for Krishna. It's such an easy path. Susukam kartam avyayam, he said. Therefore, the bhakti path is not as strenuous and difficult like the path of jnanis or yogis. But only thing is, we need an innocent and pure heart, genuine heart, because we cannot cheat Krishna in this path. The process is very simple, but the application is difficult. He says, why it's difficult? Because our duplicity comes into picture. In bhakti path, we have to give up the duplicity. And as I told you, these should be our ambitions. Serving the divine couple is my ambition. Assisting my spiritual master is my ambition. And I have such a big ship of ISKCON society where there are so many Vaishnavas to protect me and guide me and purify me and elevate me. So I have nothing to worry. Everything that I need to go back to Godhead is available. Everything I need. I have the necessary books which give me the blueprint. I have prasad. I have deities. I have devotees. I have juniors, seniors, equals. And Srila Prabhupada, the Commander-in-Chief. And I have the most merciful Gaurnitai, the most beautiful Radha Vandan Chandra, the most benevolent, magnanimous Jagannath, isn't it? So you will see when we consider the prospect of going back to Godhead with all these facilities, we become very confident, correct, no? So if these are the reasons why I am becoming brahmachari in the ashrama, then it is very easy to go on. Therefore, he says here that artificially you cannot induce sense of renunciation and think that detachment will come. I must say that unless full knowledge is awakened, simply changing dresses as we have done cannot possibly bring detachment. So how do you know somebody has simply changed a dress and is not having the necessary renunciation? That is also observed in this world, that somebody is wearing the saffron dress but he is dealing with the members of the opposite sexes not according to Maryada. Maryada means there should be a line. You should call the women as Matajis and deal with them very respectfully. We cannot inappropriately become too intimate with them in the name of guiding them or in the name of some service or something like that. Those fellows who cross the Lakshman Rekha, they can't stay in Brahmacharya ashram anymore. Of course, one can properly, if Brahmachari wants to marry, there is no problem. Either you want to marry, get out, go and get properly married and protect that girl also. Properly live as a grihastha. Or if you are ready to be a good brahmachari, then treat every woman as a mother and just be a faithful follower of Guru and go on for life without turning back. But the problem comes when some brahmachari becomes hypocritical, as Daksha says here. Hypocritical means wearing a saffron dress, but then not behaving like a proper renunciate. So not only brahmacharis, many brahmacharis, sannyasis, people have fallen in this world not only in ISKCON, in different organizations. And that has become a very great blemish to the religious order. People think all sadhus are like this only, they will think. So they will even suspect the good sadhus also because of that. So therefore, we should not bring ill fame to the sacred renounced order, and at the same time, we should not be a pretender. Even though there may be some sense of allurement in the mind, one should curb that animal tendency by awakening the angel tendency. By designing our life and molding our life means what? Simply follow Guru, that's all. You follow Guru's order, our angel will come out. You break Guru's order, animal will come out. That's all. As simple as that. So one should always think in the mind, I don't want to make my Guru unhappy. It is worse than losing my life. I should preserve that sacred relationship between Guru and disciple. How Srila Prabhupada has slogged so much to put up this society. Why should we become debauchees and ruin the good name of this society? If one has a strong leaning for marriage, honestly go to the authorities and say that I want to marry and marry. And then marry and be a good grihastha. Be a good brahmachari or good grihastha. That's the point. So here one important point Daksha has failed to understand. What is it? These 10,000 Haryashvas, boys, when they went to Narayan Saras, they touched the sacred waters. In the morning they were performing worship of the Supreme Lord. They were such a pure-hearted fellows. Pristine and pure heart they had. And that was observed by Narada. Narada understood that these fellows have no propensity for any type of enjoyment. Actually, they don't need to live in the world. They can become Paramahamsas. They have that ability. Or they have that potential. So the potential was observed by whom? Narada observed it. And Narada thought, if they have that potential, then why not become good brahmacharis? If they, see, sometimes some preacher wants some boy to become brahmachari, but the boy is running away, you run behind him. Hey, please become brahmachari. That's a shameful thing it is. Here, they don't need to be followed up. Only one lecture he gave, Narada, on that different, very enigmatic, correct, no? He gave that very beautiful, some 10, 12 examples he gave. And he told them, you just contemplate on it and think what you should do in life. And he went away. And these fellows are so intelligent, immediately they understood. And because we may not understand, for us, Shukadeva Goswami is giving explanation for our sake. Yeah, some people are very intelligent. Like recently I was giving one program in Hyderabad. There was one boy, Vedant. He is just in 7th standard or 8th standard. When I am asking question, every time he is raising hand. Cut, he is giving answer so quickly. Spiritually so awakened. Some people you see like that. Spiritually so astute. It's not from this lifetime. Many lifetimes they must have been doing. So some people are very awakened. They catch the truths very fast. They don't need too much long-wounded explanation. So these boys are like that. Therefore, Narada thought, I am telling them the truth now. If they are smart, they will accept it and then take up the renounced order. If they don't want to, Narada Muni was no more to pursue them. But they immediately decided to follow the Paramahamsa order. And then when news went to Prajapati Daksha, he became wild. He became very angry. But he tolerated the anger and produced 1,000 more. And that was called Shavalasvas. Again he... See, this is the most amazing. Prabhupada says, again he sent them to the same place. Narayan Saras. See, if it was some other father, he would have told, no training for you. Just now you get married, he may say. But Daksha Prajapati understood the importance of training and tapasya also. So they went there. Narada went there and said, look at your elder brothers, what they did. Now you decide what you want to do. And he went away. So they saw the elder brothers and asked the elder brothers, wow, how did you learn? What did you learn? They learned the same shlokas. And immediately they also decided to dedicate their life. Now Daksha Prajapati couldn't control his anger. He understood, if I produce boys, Narada is making them renounced. So this time he decided to produce girls. Then he produced girls. And then, of course, Narada couldn't do anything with the girls. Girls have to get eventually married and they will settle. Daksha thought at least population can increase through the girls, not with the boys. Like that he produced. So, Daksha Prajapati has one misconception. What is the misconception? He thinks that this Narada has artificially induced renunciation in my sons. But actually, my sons were getting ready to get married, but he fooled them and took them to renounced order, which is actually a misconception. He doesn't know that these boys, they are truly renounced. They are not cheaters. They are not hypocrites. They are genuine saintly people. That Daksha is not understanding. See, Rishabhadev had 100 sons. Out of 100 sons, 10 of them became Kshatriyas. And you will see 9 of them became Navayogendras, Paramahamsas. And the other 81 became Karmakand Brahmanas. That means in one family itself, you have multiple castes. You find that Brahman, Kshatriya, all the different categories are available purposes. Similarly, these sons born to Daksha, they were not ordinary people. They were top class, evolved, highly evolved personalities, which he was not aware. He wanted them to follow his path of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. He wanted them to go through the Grihastha order and then eventually come to Sannyas order. That was his order. He was telling Narada that don't think, I don't want them to renounce. I want them to renounce, but after going through Grihastha ashram. You will say that in future verses. Because according to Daksha, only if you go through Grihastha ashram and experience all difficulties, then only your renunciation will be powerful. Directly, if somebody becomes brahmachari, they don't know the world. They think like that. Actually, brahmacharis may not know the world, but they have the necessary renunciation, which comes by hearing. Shrotraadin indriyanyanye samyamagnish juhvati. It is possible to get that realization only by hearing and faithfully following Guru. And that was not known to Daksha Prajapati. Like, Prabhupada was asked by some Allen Ginsberg, Swamiji, you say no to drugs. Have you tasted drugs? Yes. Prabhupada said, no, my disciples have tasted and I know how they are suffering. And I don't have to taste it myself. He said, similarly, brahmacharis, those who have become sincere and serious brahmacharis, they are seeing the world around, just like I told you about the park example. Is that correct? No? You can see and learn, you can hear and learn. Why do you have to do and learn? So those who have to do, they will do it. But those who don't have to go through it, you can only hear and learn. And these fellows are like that. They could hear and learn. They just heard, they didn't even see also. They just heard and learned. That's all. That means they are which class? First class. And this fellow doesn't know. Daksha doesn't know that they are first class devotees. So, the same manner, many boys, when they become brahmacharis, one mother father came and said, hey, Swamiji, आपको मालूम नहीं, मेरा बेटा मासूम बच्चा है, कुछ मालूम नहीं उसको. He doesn't know anything. He is totally dependent on parents. I wash his clothes when he comes home. He is totally dependent. What bada brahmachari banega? What brahmachari? They gave slap, they gave and took him home. I told actually, see, your mother and father, this boy belongs to you first. Because you gave him birth now. So you have the right over the son. And I can't keep him here. If you want to take him, you take him home. So they took him home. And in home also for 2 weeks, he was sincerely practicing. Waking up in the morning, he was only one brahmachari dancing at home, Mangalarti. He was chanting Hare Krishna, reading Bhagavatam. And he gathered all the people from the neighborhood. And he's having program in their house every day. 1500 people are coming. And the parents saw. Then later on they said, we can't believe our son is so evolved. We thought he's just making a show of some bhakti. But we are seeing that this fellow is deeply interested now. And this is the realization of many people across the globe about ISKCON devotees. So later on the parents had no problem in the boy coming and joining. Because the parents understood that renunciation that he has achieved is genuine. It is not something superficial. They thought he's a kid. He's not a kid. He's a evolved personality. So this fellow, Daksha, will probably realize that later. That his sons are not ordinary. They are great devotees of Lord Narayana. Because once you become a devotee of Krishna, then not only you have to get rid of the material allurements, you also get upward pull, which Lord gives you by higher taste. Higher taste gives you such a powerful upward pull. The lower taste can be kicked off very easily without much difficulty. You have no time for the lower taste. In fact, you feel lower taste is abominable. It is nothing attractive at all. Like Dhruva Maharaj felt in the same manner. So these are very interesting sections and important sections of Bhagavatam, which have to be properly, nicely understood. And so that we know our responsibilities in the order which we all have taken up in our lives. Shri Prabhupada ki There are questions? Okay. Those who have to go for Prasad, you can carry on. I'm going to answer questions for 5-10 minutes and then I will conclude. But those who are little hungry for Prasad, you can carry on. Is seeking spiritual happiness is sense gratification, as we also have spiritual senses in spiritual world. No, that is your nature. He says, Nayanam galadashrudharaya vadanam gadgadaruddhaya gira pulakai nichitam vapuh kada tavanama grihane bhavishyati. He's saying that when I am chanting your holy name, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love for you, Krishna? When will my hair stand an end? So he's aspiring for spiritual progress. At the same time, one should not too much hanker for happiness in chanting because we are not so advanced now. And in the early stage, only one wants higher taste in chanting. It will not happen immediately. It will take some time. One should be patient also. What is the difference between artificial enunciation and preaching strongly? Good question. Very good question. Like now, do you agree that Vidura preached strongly to Dhritarashtra? Correct, no? And then Dhritarashtra got awakened. Correct, no? It's called Balotpadita, we call it. So now, in Balotpadita, what happens? Okay, somebody preached very strongly. The boy renounced everything and he shaved off. And within 1 month, he'll again go back. You will see that. That means it is artificial enunciation. Correct, no? On the other hand, if somebody was preached strongly, the boy's prajna, we call it. Prajna means contemplative intelligence has become awakened by strong preaching. Then he will never leave. Once he comes, he will just stay steadily. Then it is not artificial. Then it is genuine. That means the genuine enunciation can awaken in 2 ways. Swabhaviki or Palotpadita. Both ways. But it has to lead to prajna, contemplative intelligence, where he can go on and on. Correct, no? How to develop the awareness that we all are separate from body. Because it is said that theoretical understanding that I am not this body will not work. We have to see always as master of body. How to work on it? Actually, for this, we have to very dynamically and actively engage in devotional service in various ways. Like, for example, deity services, dressing the deity, decorating the deity, worshipping the deity, going out on book distribution. Prabhupada says that Aham Brahmasmi becomes realized by devotional activities. So the more you act devotionally in relation to Krishna and Guru, that the remembrance as it increases, you will realize that this body is only a dress over me. I am different from the body. But if you don't act, if you are lazy and lethargic, then the bodily consciousness increases by that. Then we think I am the body, we think. But when we act in devotion service, in that connection, then we become realized. How to know my decision? And one more thing. If you do sense gratification, then bodily consciousness increases. If you curb sense gratification and do more and more active devotion service in relation to Guru and Krishna, then the spirit soul awareness increases by that. How to know my decision is right or wrong? It may be right or wrong for the same thing that the two of them are trying to do. Yeah. Very easy. For example, somebody decided to be a brahmachari. He tried, he's in the ashram now. Are you happy in the ashram? Are you rendering services nicely? Did you get a nice solid service which you are doing? And there may be some little difficulty. There may be little allurements pulling you inside the mind. But overall, if you see you are going on, you say no to Maya and just keep going on and on. And it is making you more and more cheerful, happy, you get nourishment. Like Prabhupada says, Gajendra was getting nourishment. I mean, the crocodile was getting nourishment in water. So your enthusiasm should increase. You should become more happier, enthusiastic, and eager to take services, befriending the devotees. Gradually, you will get to see that in this ashram, I am quite comfortable. This is very good ashram. You develop more faith and confidence. And if somebody is feeling too much attracted to opposite sex and they're staring at the sky and they're not able to be a good brahmachari, even your devotion service is hampered. Day and night, one is suffering from longing for family life and everything. Then he can get married, and in family life, he can practice devotion service. You need not too much force yourself to be a brahmachari, correct, no? Abji, in Mityachar Sauchate, What is the difference between contemplating as mind affected by past impressions? Yeah. Actually, when the goods train, you've seen, if I put a brake here, goods train will stop there. You've seen that? Hmm? In the same manner, you will see that even though one may become brahmachari, the past impressions will attack him for some time. Therefore, Krishna says, Rasavarjam, so api asya. What is the meaning of that? Such a point. Although the lower attractions remain sometimes disturbing in the background, but they don't hamper your devotional service, because you will see that there may be some past impression. That doesn't stop you from chanting Hare Krishna. That doesn't stop you from doing services. That doesn't stop you from doing various activities in this moment. You are still enthusiastic for devotional activities, but past impressions time to time haunt you. They are like a ghost from behind. Gradually, those impressions will get nullified over a period of time. That is all right. But what Krishna is telling is different. For example, Ravana wore the dress of a monk, mendicant, correct, no? And big jata he kept, Rudraksha and everything, and then he wore saffron. So he wore that dress, but when he came in front of the Panchavati, Sita is giving him fruits, and he is staring at her with the desire to enjoy her. That is mityachara savachate. Externally appearing to be someone controlling the senses, but his intent is to enjoy her. And this is much different from, if you see brahmachari, for example, he's wearing brahmachari dress, he's making an effort to be a sincere soul, but he is attacked by past impressions. This is different. His intention is not to enjoy, his intention is to rise up. Since Diksha Guru is not available easily, following Guru's instructions, especially in Grihastha ashram, means what? Is it following counselor's order? Actually, there are many counselors who don't give any order also. They will only conduct 2 meetings in a month, and if you have any problems, you can go to them. They'll solve it. Otherwise, counselors also leave you to yourself, because they don't want to interfere with you. They know that you have your wife, children, family, you have your set of difficulties. So the Grihasthashram is in that sense very challenging. So what I would suggest Grihasthas can have a strong connection with at least one brahmachari in the temple, just like Revatipati Prabhu, Antati Pondal, they all are connecting with certain Grihasthas. Similarly, Davaji Nitya Prabhu, you will see, similarly Sri Sachinandan Prabhu. Like that, there are many senior devotees. Madan Sundar Prabhu, Kannada Prabhu, you see, they are all doing congregation programs. So if Grihasthas have connection with brahmacharis, that renounced inspiration is very necessary for Grihasthas. Because when Grihasthas go to brahmachari and say, Prabhu, I am going to counselor meetings, but nothing new in my life. I am just attending monthly twice. My counselor is like my spiritual parent, ready to solve my problems. But my counselor doesn't push me to go for book distribution or preaching or anything. So can you give me a push? Then brahmachari can give push. So they should go to brahmacharis, I would say. Every grihastha should have one brahmachari connection in the temple. And you can tell the brahmachari, Prabhuji, please engage me in some kind of service. And there are also grihasthas like Mukundanand Prabhu, Rasamtuka Prabhu, they have a Sanjeevani. You can go and ask them, please engage me in some service. I would say that, counselors may not engage you all the time. They leave it to you because they are generally very caring and compassionate. They don't want to push anybody. They fear that if I push him, then family will suffer. So and therefore, what you should do, if you are interested to advance in spiritual life very rapidly, go to a brahmachari or some department like that and then request them. If Mataji want to engage, you should go with her husband. Husband and wife both should go and approach a brahmachari, and then brahmachari will connect her to some Mataji. Like, for example, the deity department, there is Jana Mataji, Satyajit Mataji, Radhika Mataji, there is Jugalapura Mataji, many other seniors are there. So they will engage you very nicely. There is also Vaikuntha Velasthi Mataji is engaging many ladies in children preaching. A lot of opportunities. So Grihastha should go out of the way, begging for service, I would say. And brahmacharis know these things, they will connect you if you go and meet them, especially saffron senior brahmacharis. Can you kindly share more attributes of real renunciation? Does flickering enthusiasm in bhakti means false renunciation? Actually, in the early phase of bhakti practice, there is flickering enthusiasm. But after you have progressed to a certain degree, there's a steady enthusiasm. it becomes very, very steady, rock steady. Beginning, we say no Utsahamayi, Ghanatarala, Vyuda Vikalpa, Niyama Kshama, Vishaya Sangara, and, Tarangarangini and all that. But if one is practicing continuously for years, one will get steady enthusiasm. And the attributes of real renunciation means one is fixed up devotee, we say. In the rain and shine, the devotee will be engaged in Krishna consciousness. In foul weather, fair weather, one will never waver. How to check that we are not Mityacharis? So there are various ways we can check it. For example, if one is feeling some disturbance in the mind due to some member of opposite sex, what are you doing with that? Are you going and revealing your mind to your senior and taking help? Or you are pursuing in this direction of calling that person on phone and talking and getting close, and you are in the process of falling down? Are you in the process of falling down, or are you taking help from a senior? If you're taking help from a senior, you are not a Mityachari. If you are secretly making a plan to fall down, then it's Mityachari. Very simple it is. Very clear it is. Similarly, if one is feeling some attraction like that, then one has to intensify study of Shastra, intensify chanting, intensify deity service and all that. Are you doing that? If you're doing that, that means you are working against being a Mityachari. So there are various ways to know. How wonderful you impart the Krishna's love and knowledge of Shastras to the audience. We are so much fortunate having you. I'm so much inspired from you. Oh, that's all. Okay. There's no question here, I think. Prabhupada ki